Hello, I'm Shane Downey coming to you from the GBTA VDR conference in Hamburg. Today I'm joined by Gijs Swaans, Enterprise Sales Director with Rydoo. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Good morning.
Good morning. So let's just go right into it. With AI being the buzzword in every conversation, do you think the T&E industry is really capable of delivering those expectations?
Yeah. So of course, right? The past years, everybody says in every offering, every supplier, they say, yeah, we got AI, we offer it. So over the past years, you really have seen that as really a marketing term, right? Being used as leveraged as, hey, we do AI, but how was it? What did it do? And I think a lot of companies were still building up and the real functionalities, the basic functionalities. I think there are two takeaways here. On the one side, you got the travel piece, which is much more emotion, right? And therefore the human aspect is much more impactful. So, but on the technology side, so from an expense management perspective, SaaS platforms, technology, of course, is the main driver, right? There's less emotion, so it's really the technology that needs to drive the AI element. So on that perspective, you see that SaaS companies like ourselves, right? So we build an audit machine driven by a large language model. And that really, let's say, has the accuracy built up and learning over the years what the actual impact is of the moment you scan a receipt, right? So in fact, it's just very simple. You scan a receipt or there's an incoming credit card transaction. You need to make sure as a company that it's valid, it's not fraudulent. And at that point, you need to have a platform or you need to have tools that actually recognize specific patterns. So on the one side, I think from the human element, the interesting thing here is before people and humans did a lot of work and we allowed them to actually make errors and mistakes. Yeah. But the funny thing is that now we need to be more trusted with those AI capabilities. We are really on the pinpoint of we don't allow any faults or any mistakes to be made. So it's also, I think, a lot of elements in trust in order to say, hey, listen, I trust the platform, I trust the service to actually take that step. Yeah. So from a human perspective, really in the travel element, I think it takes a bit of time. You see the first suppliers already delivering, let's say, the AI agentic robots, etc. Chatbots, we can leave that aside. But I think on the technology side, you will see that the developments will go much faster, and yes, delivering on those expectations, 100%.
It's a melding. It's a melding of that.
But I think you will recognize the marketing buzz around it, right? So yeah, we got AI, it's nice, it's good, but how does it actually deliver? Does it actually do something, and what's in it?
Well, with all these recent developments in the T&E world, how do you see this all-in-one solution evolving versus best of breed?
Yeah, so of course there were some things happening over the past month with some recent announcements from one of the big players and two of the big players in the industry. On the one side, the travel industry has always been, let's say, from a legacy perspective, different tool sets, different, let's say, tool stacks, which didn't always talk together. I think you also need to take into account that there are different needs. So like if we look at mid-market companies, smaller size companies versus the large enterprise, the typical audience we see here as well, there are different needs and different stakeholders within companies. Now, travel could be owned by HR, could be by procurement, by finance, but especially from a spend management or expense management, it's typically owned by finance. So not always within the travel piece. So while for mid-market, a T&E solution, so one solution where both offerings are being made in one integrated one, that's more common. And because the ownership is also very clear, the complexity is not as you might expect from a large enterprise company. So when we look at the enterprise companies, there's a lot of differentiated needs within the capabilities to offer that. So the complexity is a thing here. Looking at the landscape, the players who can actually do the T&E together, it always comes with a compromise. So either you see that the players are good in travel, because that's their core, they took the rest with it, or it's the other way around. Because of the capabilities and the complexity that needed it, I think it's not always what they can deliver. So let's take, for example, Workday, great company, actually everybody knows it from an HR perspective. they do ERP, they do expense management. But those capabilities are, let's say, more to the basic level and don't live up to the expectations from an enterprise perspective. So what we see is really, and that's what we do, we focus hardcore on that expense management piece, the spend elements around it, and therefore we are capable to delivering that best of breed element. But then it comes also to, we need to integrate to those travel solutions. And that's really where the next step will be, being integrated into one solution. But then you have the best of both, rather than just trying to do everything together, which always comes with a compromise.
Yeah. As you're going through all of this and seeing all the recent developments, how do you see the expense management landscape evolve over the next few years? Because everything seems to be evolving over the next few years.
Yeah, so especially in the SaaS world, you see developments go very fast. You see spend management solutions just launching travel, AI-driven or bot-driven travel solutions, right? It's fully online. Let's say on the back end, I'm always questioning what's behind it, because within travel, right, it's very hard also to rely already. Can they deliver on the capabilities from a human perspective? So you see, especially on the technology side, the additional elements around it, like travel, are easily built. But if you look on the other side, from a travel perspective, many of those legacy TMCs, they have difficulties to actually become a tech company, right? They need to buy tech, they want to build it, but is it really integrated? Looking at the technology and on how we look at it, again, jumping back into the AI piece, but we've built a model that is really pre-submission auditing. So what you will see in the future is that the moment you scan a receipt, it should always say, hey, it's already a fake AI receipt. We should recognize it.
Yes.
The thing is with expense management, everybody knows that very painful Friday afternoon, 1.5 hour, trying to collect my receipts.
Yes.
And because the elements are, it's expense report focus. You need to be real time. What we do is the moment you scan your receipt, the credit card transaction comes in, you click and it submits. And because it's in policy, you don't need to touch it anymore. What it's all about is about cutting out that, let's say 60, 70% of the manual work. Imagine as a company, you got 10 people in India or in a shared service center where they do the auditing, but it's usually after the submission of the actual expense. It's been approved by your manager, and that will change. We do, let's say upfront, we recognize, hey, there's alcohol on it. There's a duplicate. You and your colleague, let's say they submitted the same receipt. There is a Netflix subscription on your phone bill from home, right? You need to be recognizing that upfront. So it's all about intuitiveness, it's about effortless, and it should really be focusing on the moment you take the action, it should already be being able to put into a box. So it should all be no touch. We recognize it and it should flow through the machine into your ERP, and therefore no touch, real time, no touch. And I think, especially on the technology side, it goes so fast, and I think we will be very fast, and especially with the wider industry, companies that take that step as well. And that's really our focus, effortless. Right. That's what it's about.
And just from a time savings capability for myself, and you multiply that by all the employees, imagine how much more work we could actually get done instead of working on those expense reports.
Yeah, like I said, right, that very painful 1.5 hour on a Friday afternoon, you want to do, the moment you scan your credit card on the Starbucks, you're waiting for your coffee, but actually just with a snapshot, you just took a picture of the receipt and you're done. And that's the whole mindset. So stop with thinking about expense reports, but focus on just doing it on the go. License focus rather than report focus. And I think it's all about, it's not fun to do expenses. We're trying to make it a bit more fun, but I'm not saying it will be the best experience you will ever had from I love to do my expenses. No, nobody ever said that, right? So we're not going to do that, but at least make it simple, easy to do, and you don't need to think about it. That's the whole emotion around here.
Great. Thank you for joining us today from GBTA VDR in Hamburg. Have a great day.